Every day, I share another story from the Golden Age and the moments that shaped an unforgettable era. If you'd like to keep these memories alive with me, hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. Jack Elam wasn't just tough on screen. People whispered that he truly hated him more than anyone, and that rumor spread fast behind the scenes. Jack Elam, born William Scott Elam on November 13, 1920 in Miami, Arizona, grew into one of Hollywood's most unforgettable faces, the kind of actor you couldn't mistake even for a second. From the time he was young, he loved spinning stories and putting on little performances, and those early habits grew into the foundation of a career that would stretch across decades in film and television. After serving in the United States Navy during World War II, a time that sharpened his discipline and toughness, he decided to chase acting full-time. He even studied at the University of Southern California, polishing his craft and figuring out how to stand out in a crowded Hollywood scene. And he did stand out, thanks in part to his striking look, especially his distinct misaligned eye, which instantly made him different from every other actor walking into a casting office. Instead of hiding that unique feature, Elam turned it into his signature move, the thing that gave him a naturally dangerous or quirky vibe that audiences couldn't ignore. It became his trademark, shaping a persona that casting directors loved and viewers remembered. Over more than 50 years of work, he stacked up over 200 roles across film and television, proving he wasn't just memorable, he was unstoppable. He became legendary in westerns, a genre that seemed built for his rugged style and bold screen presence. Movies like Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, Support Your Local Sheriff, 1969, and Night of the Grizzly, 1966, locked in his status as the go-to bad guy, the kind of villain who could make you laugh 1 second and lean back nervously the next. And even when he played someone rough, he slipped in tiny touches of humanity that pulled people in, giving his characters depth that made them unforgettable. But Elam wasn't just a Western star, he could do anything. He bounced from comedies to dramas to more family-friendly projects with ease, proving that no category could box him in. Directors respected him, actors admired him, and audiences kept wanting more, all because he brought both skill and personality into every role he touched. His television career exploded too, and he showed up everywhere, from Gunsmoke to Bonanza, The Twilight Zone, and The Lone Ranger, leaving his mark on classics that shaped American pop culture. He had a knack for dropping into a show, stealing the scene, and making sure viewers remembered him the moment his episode ended. Then, from 1974 to 1975, Elam switched gears again when he played Zach Wheeler in The Texas Wheelers, a short-lived but bold comedy series on ABC. In this role, he played a rough-around-the-edges father who suddenly returns to raise the 4 children he barely knows after their mother passes away, creating chaos, comedy, and surprising emotional moments along the way. The role let him show a whole new side, mixing sharp humor with unexpected warmth, and audiences saw a different depth in him. Even though The Texas Wheelers only ran for 8 episodes, people still talk about it today because it paired Elam with young future legends like Mark Hamill, who later became Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, and Gary Busey. The ratings struggled, the network pulled the plug fast, but critics praised Elam's performance, pointing out how his wild screen presence added something no one else could have brought to the family comedy vibe. Elam didn't slow down, he kept taking chances. He jumped into more unusual television roles, pushing past the Western villain typecasting that had defined much of his early career. And in 1979, he shocked viewers again when he stepped into the CBS sitcom Struck by Lightning, where he played none other than Frankenstein's monster, a wild twist that showed he wasn't afraid to explore any character, no matter how unexpected. This wild little sitcom followed a scientist who finds out his own ancestor was Dr. Frankenstein, and through a chain of goofy mishaps, he ends up living under the same roof as the monster himself. Elam, with his unforgettable face and natural offbeat attitude, fit the role perfectly, blending comedy with just the right amount of weirdness to make a legendary horror figure feel fun and unpredictable in a lighthearted show. Sadly, the series never clicked with US audiences and got canceled after only 3 episodes, leaving 8 more sitting on the shelf. But across the pond, things took a surprising turn. British viewers actually got to watch all 11 episodes when they aired in the UK in 1980. To this day, that oddball show remains a unique little gem in Elam's long career, something fans still talk about because of how unusual and entertaining his performance was. Even as the 1990s rolled in, Elam kept showing he could switch up his style anytime he wanted. He popped into the hit sitcom Home Improvement, playing Hick Peterson in Season 1, Episode 20, Birds of a Feather Flock to Taylor. Sharing scenes with the iconic Ernest Borgnine, he stepped right into the comedy rhythm like he'd been doing it for years, and fans loved seeing him crack jokes in a modern family setting. For people who remembered him as a tough, intense outlaw in the old westerns, watching him bring laughs in a primetime sitcom proved just how wide his acting range stretched. On the movie side, Elam kept stacking memorable roles, especially when he played Dr. Nicholas Van Helsing, a self-described crazed proctologist, in the 1981 action comedy hit, The Cannonball Run. The film was packed with stars: Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Farrah Fawcett, and full of wild cross-country racing and slapstick chaos. Elam stole scenes with his eccentric, big-energy performance, turning a small role into one fans still remember with a smile. He crushed the part so well that he came back for Cannonball Run 2 in 1984, once again lighting up the screen with that wild-eyed, unpredictable comedic spark that made him impossible to ignore. Then in 1986, Elam appeared in The Aurora Encounter, a movie often labeled a weird Western because it mixed sci-fi elements with classic frontier themes. Elam played Charlie Hankins, the town drunk, adding another layer of eccentric energy to a film that already leaned hard into strange territory. But behind the scenes, something far more meaningful happened, something that touched Elam deeply. During filming, he met Mickey Hayes, an 11-year-old Texas boy living with progeria, a rare condition that causes rapid aging. Even though their lives were completely different, they built a genuine, respectful, and powerful friendship that stood out as one of the most heartfelt connections Elam ever experienced. Their bond was later captured in the 1987 film I Am Not a Freak, which showed how much they truly cared for each other, and how Elam's kindness and humanity shined just as brightly off-screen as his charisma did in front of the camera. Elam once said in a quote that's often repeated, maybe true, maybe not, "You know, I've met a lot of people, but I've never met anybody that got next to me." That line hits even harder when you know the story behind it. Just like with Mickey, that bond revealed a softer, caring side of Elam that most people never got to see, especially since he was so often cast as the rugged troublemaker on screen. That same year, he kept expanding his television career when he joined the comedy series Easy Street. In it, he played Alvin Bully Stevenson, the down-on-his-luck, rough-around-the-edges uncle of Lonnie Anderson's character, L.K. McGuire. The show centered on a wild living setup where a wealthy socialite suddenly ends up sharing her fancy mansion with her blue-collar relatives, creating plenty of awkward moments and funny clashes. Elam's character, with his clumsy charm and lovable attitude, quickly became a natural source of laughs. Even though Easy Street didn't last long, Elam's presence gave the sitcom an extra spark, and the contrast between Anderson's glamorous vibe and Elam's scruffy swagger created a playful on-screen chemistry that viewers enjoyed. In 1988, Elam teamed up with country legend Willie Nelson for the TV Western, Where the Hell's That Gold? The movie also starred Delta Burke and delivered a rowdy mix of treasure hunting, trickery, and bigger-than-life personalities. Elam got to step back into the world of Westerns he knew so well, but with the comedic twist he had mastered over the years. His laid-back chemistry with Nelson only made the film more fun to watch, as both men brought a cool, relaxed energy that made their scenes feel effortless and entertaining. Elam's long, respected career reached another milestone in 1994 when he was officially inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. This honor placed him among the most admired names in Western film and television history, a truly fitting recognition for someone who shaped the genre with unforgettable villains, quirky comic roles, and everything in between. The induction stood as proof of his versatility, his staying power, and the unforgettable stamp he left on American entertainment. When people picture Jack Elam today, they think of the signature misaligned eye, the weathered face, and the way he could steal a whole scene with just one expression, whether he was playing a dangerous outlaw or a hilarious old-timer later in his career. But behind the cameras, he was known for something else. He was the kind of man who always spoke his mind, no sugarcoating, no hesitation. And he had strong opinions, very strong, about almost everyone he ever worked with. But one name he couldn't stand above all others? Gary Cooper, the legendary star of Hollywood westerns and classic dramas. Gary Cooper was admired as one of the greats. quiet, calm, and known for a style people often described as effortless. To many fans, he embodied the classic Western hero, the man who didn't need to say much to show strength. But to Jack Elam, Cooper represented everything he disliked about Hollywood's golden age leading men. Elam flat out believed Cooper was overrated. He argued that the natural acting Cooper was praised for was really just, as Elam once described it, standing there mumbling while everyone else did the work. And Elam didn't keep these thoughts to himself. He repeated them often, whether in interviews or around other actors on set. "Gary Cooper never impressed me," Elam reportedly said. "He was always just there. You'd have these great character actors carrying a scene, giving everything they had, and Cooper would just mutter a line in that low voice of his, and the critics would call it brilliant. I never saw brilliance. I saw a guy who got by on looking good in a cowboy hat." Elam never softened that opinion for anyone, and he meant every word. A big part of his frustration came from what he saw as Cooper's weak work ethic. Elam built his whole career on grinding hard, arriving early, staying late, running lines, sharpening tiny details most actors would ignore. But he insisted Cooper just floated through scenes, leaning on that old-school star glow instead of putting in real effort. "If you asked me who I thought was lazy, I'd say Gary Cooper without blinking," Elam once said with zero hesitation. He didn't rehearse. He didn't push himself. He didn't care if the scene sparkled. He just wanted to get through it and collect the paycheck. Meanwhile, Elam and the other character actors were sweating through every shot, doing everything they could to make the story hit harder. Elam also had strong thoughts about how Cooper treated people on set. Many believed Cooper was polite and reserved, but Elam said that wasn't the full picture. "People said he was a gentleman," Elam noted. "Maybe if you were a studio head or a pretty actress. If you were just some working character guy like me, he didn't bother with you. He barely acknowledged you. I got no respect for that." For Elam, a man who always made time for everyone from the top stars to the stagehands, Cooper's distant attitude felt cold, and in his eyes, unforgivable. But what irritated Elam the most was how Cooper was celebrated by critics and fans, even when, in his view, the performances lacked life. Elam openly believed Cooper's Academy Award for High Noon was wildly undeserved. "You could have put a cigar store Indian in that role and gotten the same performance," he scoffed. But because it was Cooper, everybody bowed down. "I never understood it." Elam, always direct, once summed it up by saying, "Gary Cooper was like wallpaper. He was there. He filled the space. But you didn't notice him unless someone told you to. Yet somehow he became this giant of cinema. To me, that says more about Hollywood's obsession with looks than with talent." Even with all that criticism, Elam admitted Cooper had loyal fans, and that the tall, quiet cowboy image was exactly what a lot of people wanted back then. But that didn't stop him from calling it like he saw it. "He was the American hero, sure," Elam admitted, "only because people wanted to believe in that image. He wasn't the best actor, not by a long shot. He wasn't even the best actor in most of his movies. But he looked the part, and that was enough for the studios." At the core of Elam's frustration was something bigger than just Cooper himself. To Elam, Cooper represented the whole Hollywood system, one that elevated handsome leading men while ignoring the character actors who brought depth, grit, and raw energy to every film. Elam felt that imbalance his entire career, and Cooper, in his mind, became the symbol of that unfairness. And for a man like Jack Elam, someone who carved out his place through determination, craft, and unshakable work ethic, that was something he simply couldn't forgive. Outside the spotlight, Jack Elam lived a full life marked by loyalty and long-lasting relationships. He married twice. His first marriage was to Jean Louise Hodgett, beginning in 1937. They stayed together until her passing from colon cancer on January 24, 1961, a loss that deeply affected him. Only 7 months later, in August 1961, Elam married again, this time to Margaret M. Jennison. This second marriage was strong and steady, lasting an incredible 42 years. They stayed side by side until October 20th, 2003, when Jack Elam passed away from congestive heart failure at their home in Ashland, Oregon. A quiet ending to the life of a man whose presence on screen was anything but quiet. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you felt something real, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.